Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Las Vegas Raiders, a Raider team who it was a tale of two seasons. They started off 3-5 and pretty much was on a sinking ship, but then something changed. We'll talk about it when we get into our highlights that caused the Raiders to all of a sudden buy in and almost saw their season turn around. They almost made the playoffs. They didn't make it, but hey, they still had a good run. They have something to build on, at least. And looking at their schedule, it was the first 8 games were pretty much a mess. Sure, they got a win over the Denver Broncos. That's almost like an absolute. They pretty much, at this point, they own the Denver Broncos. But they got destroyed by the Bills. Lost to the Steelers because that idiot head coach, Josh McDaniels, opted to take a field goal instead of going for it on 4th down. Then you had the Chargers, where Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play, but Aiden O'Connell got beat up. They beat the Packers and Patriots, but they lost to the Bears, who was starting Tyler Bagent at quarterback. And not only did they lose that game, they got destroyed 30-12. And then Detroit, that game gave up a bad omen. They're saying that something just had to change. And once things changed, they got 2 wins over a New York team. Got into a little bit of a 3-game losing streak before dropping 60 on the Chargers, getting a surprise win over the Chiefs, and ending their season on a bit of a high note against the Denver Broncos. I wonder who caused all this. And let's talk about the highlights. And of course, after that Detroit game, where it looked like the team was on borderline mutiny, the team finally fired Josh McDaniels, a guy I'm not gonna lie, I actually did thought he was gonna turn it around. He did. He probably. I thought he took a whole decade to figure out what went wrong, but it turned out he never learned. He was an egotistical maniac who couldn't take a bit of a criticism and should have never been hired in the first place. They also fired their GM too, Dave Ziegler, for being terrible. Now the guy who helped push him at the door was Antonio Pierce. He literally did push them out the door because I remember reading something about them in 2000. Read about them during their game leading up to the Patriots. Antonio Pierce said, because he was, if you recall, he was on that team. He said, "Our team, my New York Giants, beat the New England Patriots." He said something like that, and Josh McDaniels got offended by that. He really got offended. Hey, don't do that, man. But he ended up being an interim head coach, and the players just all of a sudden bought in. The defense especially turned things around. Probably one of the best Raider defense we've seen in a minute. And it got him the full-time job. I am going to be a fan of this guy. Unfortunately, they did hire Tom Telesco, so that was a bit of a setback, but hey, the Raiders are in the right direction with the coach at least. And they also ended a bit of a losing streak against the Kansas City Chiefs. And they did it with their defense, with 2 defensive scores. That's it. If I remember, Aiden O'Connell only threw like 8 passes that game. So kudos to the Raiders defense on getting the job done that day. Now, the lowlights. And once again, he got to keep emphasizing, Josh McDaniels was the main lowlight. Even to the point, Devontae Adams, he wanted out at one point. I think he kind of settled in, but that Week 8 game where his frustration showed, it was an indictment of what was going on in Raiderland. It was because of this hack of a coach. And then I have to include a low light in the Antonio Pierce era, and that was when they played the Vikings. An historic 3-0 shutout loss. Yes, the Vikings only scored 3 points and won. Now looking at some highlights and some additions and subtractions, they're another team that didn't really do too much. They added Gardner Minshew to handle the quarterback position, or so compete at the quarterback position. But their biggest signing came with Christian Wilkins, who had a breakout year a defensive tackle who had a breakout year in Miami, and he got the contract to match. And they also added the exiled Alexander Madison to replace Josh Jacobs, who will handle the subtraction. After we get into with Jimmy Garoppolo losing to he got released. He's now playing with the Rams. Josh Jacobs, he went to Green Bay to be with the Packers. Hunter Renfrow got released. Jerry Tillery, less said about him the better. Bilal Nichols is gone. And Amik Robertson, who had an okay season. I think he's now in Detroit, if I believe. I could be wrong. And in their draft, now it was said that they wanted a quarterback to take in the draft, but by the time pick 13 had landed, they were all gone. So they settled with Brock Bowers, which, okay, a decent pick. But their second round pick, Jackson Powers Johnson, that was another good pick I liked. I also liked their pick with Tommy Etchenberg from The Ohio State University. And they look like they took care of. They also added on the O line with Delmar Glaze. And they took care of some secondary needs in the 7th round. I hope they don't expect Dylan Labu to replace Josh Jacobs at running back, but who knows. Raiders, I feel like this season is going to be a bit of an unknown for them, but I'm very curious on how they do. Let's take a look at their schedule. Okay, Raiders, let's take a look at your schedule. And it's going to start off in pretty rough territory. I got them losing to both the Chargers and the Ravens week 1 and 2. 0-2 start, that's not good. But week 3 against the Panthers, I got them winning that one. Week 4 against the Browns, got them winning that one. But week 5 against the Broncos, how about this? I got them winning on the road for that one. And week 6 against their old-time rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I got them winning at home. So after an 0-2 start, winning 4 straight, but it's gonna probably end here when I say the Rams are gonna beat them at home. And I noticed when I done the Raiders, a lot of their losses are coming from the road, with few exceptions, and most of their wins are coming at home. But week 8 against the Chiefs, I have them winning at home for that one. In week 9 against the Bengals, I have them losing that one. And after their bye week, they have the Dolphins. I have them losing that one as well. But week 12, I have them sweeping the Broncos this season. Week 13 is against the Chiefs, and that is the Black Friday game. And I have the Chiefs winning at home for this one. Week 14 against it's the Pirate Bowl. And I'm going to give the slight edge over the Raiders on this one. I think they're going to win on the road for week 14. And as the rest of their season goes, I have them losing at home to the Falcons, beating the Jaguars at home, losing to the Saints on the road, and losing to the Chargers. Beating the Chargers at home, which brings their record to 9-8, which is a winning record. I'm very unsure if it will be enough for them to clinch a playoff spot. Gotta wait and see what happens. But until then, tell what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.